We're going to talk about the inverse sine, inverse cosine, and inverse tangent functions. Throughout mathematics, we learn how to conduct an operation, and then we learn how to undo that. So in our previous chapter, we learned about our trig functions. Our trig functions map the angle from the unit circle, or triangle, into a coordinate on the unit circle. So for instance, we can go x equals the sine of theta. That takes us from angle to coordinate on the unit circle. If we wanted to go backwards, if we wanted to go from the coordinate to the angle, we would need to take the inverse of that, and that's when we talk about inverse trig functions. So the inverse sine will take us from the coordinate value back to the angle that we started with. So we're going to talk about the basic inverse trigonometric functions. Our first one is the inverse sine function, or the arc sine function. Y equals the inverse sine of x means that x equals the sine of y, where negative 1 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 1, and negative pi over 2 is less than or equal to y is less than or equal to pi over 2. The inverse cosine says that y equals the inverse cosine of x if x equals the cosine of y. It has a domain from negative 1 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 1, and a range for 0 is less than or equal to y is less than or equal to pi. And then the inverse tangent says that y equals the inverse tangent of x, means that x equals the tangent of y, where negative infinity is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to infinity, and negative pi over 2 is less than or equal to y is less than or equal to pi over 2. Alright, so the first thing that we want to be able to do is we want to be able to evaluate these inverse trigonometric functions, finding the exact values using our unit circle. So when we have an inverse trigonometric function, what we need to do is we need to focus in on the unit circle in the spot that is part of the function's range. So for our first example, we want to find the inverse cosine of 1. Well, from our previous slide, we know that cosine is defined from 0 all the way around to pi. So it's defined on the top half of the circle. So what we want to do is we want to look at those values on the top half of the circle, and we want to find the one where our cosine value, or our x value, is equal to 1. And that occurs right here at the angle 0. So the inverse cosine of 1 is going to be equal to 0. Alright. If we go on to the next problem, the inverse sine of negative root 3 over 2. So again, we're going to think about the range of the inverse sine. So inverse sine is defined for the right-hand side of the unit circle from negative pi over 2 to positive pi over 2. So we're going to look at those values, and we're going to find out where the sine, or the y value, is equal to negative root 3 over 2. And that occurs down here at 5 pi over 3. So the inverse sine of negative root 3 over 2 is going to be 5 pi over 3. But remember, the inverse sine is defined from negative pi over 2 to positive pi over 2. So 5 pi over 3 is not going to be a part of that. So we have to write that as a negative angle. And so that would be negative pi over 3. And we can find that by taking 5 pi over 3 and subtracting 2 pi. So we could find it mathematically by doing 5 pi over 3 minus 2 pi. That would give us our negative pi over 3. Or we can just look and see that this angle down here is equivalent to the angle up here. So I get pi over 3 if I go upwards, which means I would get negative pi over 3 if I went down. All right, and then for our final example, we have the inverse sine of the square root of 2 over 2. And so again, since we're dealing with the inverse sine, we're going to be looking at the right-hand side of our unit circle. So we're going to be looking from negative pi over 2 up to pi over 2. And we want to find out where is the sine equal to negative square root of 2 over 2. So where's our y value, negative root 2 over 2? And that's going to be down here at 7 pi over 4. But again, that's not within the defined range. So I think about this as coming down pi over 4. So we'll get a negative pi over 4 for our solution. All right. The next thing that we should be able to do is we should be able to evaluate inverse trig functions using our calculator. Now everything that we do in this section is going to be in radian mode. So make sure that your calculator is in radian mode before you try to do these problems. Your calculator has 3 trig function values on it. It has sine, cosine, and tangent. And so you should be able to do the inverse sine, the inverse cosine, and the inverse tangent using your calculator as well. Typically those buttons are on the same button as sine, cosine, and tangent, but you have to use the function or shift or second button on your calculator to use these inverses. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to type those in the way that we see them. So if I want to do the inverse cosine of 0.6, on my calculator I'm going to push the second button and then the cosine button to get the inverse cosine, and then I'm going to type in 0.6, and when I press enter I should get 0.93 if I round that to 2 decimal places. Alright, to do the inverse tangent, again on my calculator I would do second and then push the tangent button to get the inverse tangent, and then I'll type in -3 and close the parentheses, and then it will be negative 1.25. Now your calculator may work a little bit differently. You might not have a second button, you might have a shift button or a function button. So make sure that you know how to do this inverse cosine and inverse tangent and inverse sine using your calculator. Alright, the last thing that we're going to talk about in this section is the properties of inverse trigonometric functions. So remember, if you take the composition of 2 inverse functions, they tend to cancel each other out. So that's true with our inverse trig functions as well. If I take the inverse sine of the sine of x, then those trig functions, inverse sine and sine, will cancel out, assuming that x is within that range, negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. If we take the inverse cosine of the cosine of x, then the cosine and inverse cosine again will cancel out as long as that x value is in between 0 and pi. And if we do the inverse tangent of the tangent of x, the tangent and its inverse will cancel each other out if our value is within that range from negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. All right, so let's do some examples here where we're going to apply these properties of the functions. Alright, for our first example, we want to examine the inverse sine of the sine of negative pi over 10. To evaluate one of these problems, we're going to look at the value that's inside our sine function. So we start with that, negative pi over 10, and we ask ourselves, is that within the range for which the inverse sine is defined? So is negative pi over 10 between negative pi over 2 and positive pi over 2, that right-hand side of the unit circle? And it is. So negative pi over 10 is within the domain between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. And so since it's inside that domain, the inverse and the function are going to cancel each other out. So the inverse sine of the sine of negative pi over 10 will just be negative pi over 10. For our next example, we want to examine the inverse cosine of the cosine of negative 5 pi over 3. So again, we start with the value, negative 5 pi over 3, and we determine is that within the range of this defined function. So cosine goes from 0 to pi. Well, negative 5 pi over 3 is not within that domain. So negative 5 pi over 3 does not lie between 0 and pi. So we need to find an equivalent angle that has the same cosine value. Now negative 5 pi over 3 is too small. It's less than 0. So let's start by finding a coterminal angle. To find our coterminal angle, we're going to take negative 5 pi over 3 and we're going to add 2 pi to it. So that'll be negative 5 pi over 3 plus 6 pi over 3. And that's going to give us pi over 3. So we're going to have the inverse cosine of the cosine of negative 5 pi over 3. That'll be the same thing as the inverse cosine of the cosine of pi over 3. Well, pi over 3 is within that range from 0 to pi, so the cosine and inverse cosine will cancel out, and we'll get pi over 3 as our final answer here. All right, for our next example, we're going to do the inverse sine of the sine of 7 pi over 8. So again, we start with that value, 7 pi over 8. That is not within the domain of sine. That does not lie between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. So we need to find an equivalent angle that has the same sine value as 7 pi over 8. Now 7 pi over 8 is on our unit circle, so we don't need to worry about a coterminal angle. Instead, we need to find the other value on the unit circle that has the same sine value. So let's sketch this out to see what we're dealing with. 7 pi over 8, if we look at our unit circle, 7 pi over 8 would wind up being in the second quadrant. It's just a little bit less than pi. So 7 pi over 8 is in the second quadrant. So if we can find the angle here from it to the x-axis, then we can use that to determine an equivalent angle that would be within the range of our inverse sine. So sine is positive in the second quadrant. We need to think, where else is sine positive? Sine is also positive in the first quadrant. So there is an angle in the first quadrant that has that same sine value, and that's going to be the angle that we're looking for. So we're going to find the reference angle here for our 7 pi over 8. So to find our reference angle, we'll do pi minus 7 pi over 8. So that's 8 pi over 8 minus 7 pi over 8. And that gives us pi over 8. So the reference angle, this blue line, this is pi over 8. And so that means that on the other side, this is also going to be pi over 8. So we're looking for the inverse sine of the sine of 7 pi over 8, and it's going to wind up being pi over 8. All right, for our final example, we want to find the inverse tangent of the tangent of 9 pi over 11. So again, we start by looking at that value, 9 pi over 11. 9 pi over 11 is not within the range of tangent. It's not between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. So we'll need to find an equivalent angle that has the same tangent value. Now, this value 9 pi over 11 is within our unit circle between 0 and 2 pi, so we'll start by sketching it out. 9 pi over 11, again, is just a little bit less than pi, so it'll be here in the second quadrant. All right, so we can figure out what that angle is between 9 pi over 11 and our x-axis, and we can use that to find the equivalent angle in a different quadrant that would have the same tangent value. Now, in the second quadrant, tangent is negative. So we need to determine which other quadrant the tangent would be negative. And that'll be quadrant 4. So there'll be an angle down here in quadrant 4 that has the exact same tangent value, and that's going to be the angle that we're looking for, because that would be within our range from negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. So to determine the value of that angle, we're going to again use reference angles. So to find our reference angle, we're going to do pi minus 9 pi over 11. So if I rewrite with a common denominator, that'll be 11 pi over 11 minus 9 pi over 11. So that gives us 2 pi over 11. So this angle is 2 pi over 11. And that means that this angle that we're looking for over here is also going to have a measure of 2 pi over 11. But since it went down from the x-axis, it's going to be negative. So the inverse tangent of the tangent of 9 pi over 11 will be negative 2 pi over 11.